Minecraft 1.21.6 is just around the corner, and with it, it will bring the Locator Bar. Now, I think we can do some pretty cool things with the Locator Bar here in Percy's Park. But before we do that, I haven't really messed around with the Locator Bar too much yet, so I wanna do that first. Now, for those of you who don't know, by default, the Locator Bar will appear right above your hotbar. If you're in survival, it will replace the XP bar when there is another player in the world. So I'm now bringing in a second account here. There we go. And you can see instantly it's bringing up the Locator Bar. Now on the Locator Bar, you can see a dot that's moving around as I'm moving around. This shows where my second account is in the park. So let's go find him real quick. And while we're here, let's grab a map. We're going to need that in a second. We can see, oh, he's just over there as the Locator Bar shows. It's really cool. Turns out it even works in third person mode, which is also really interesting. So by default, when a player logs in, they'll get a random color, and it's always in this style. And I think we can do some cool things with this. Now also by default, it shows only the players that are in your world, but we can also add custom waypoints is what they're called. And this is where we're bringing in the map that I just grabbed. As you can see, we are already showing off where all the rides and attractions are. What I think we can do is we can have the Locator Bar can complement this by showing colors. So for example, you can see every area has its own color. The Winter Fair over here is a dark blue, Rainbow Fair is a purple. So what I'm thinking we can do is we can have every ride have its own waypoint and then have those waypoints color coded to the color that they have on the map. I'm hoping that makes sense. Let's get messing around with waypoints. And for that, I don't need my second account anymore, so bye. Oh, and it also means the Locator Bar is gone. Now, these waypoints can be added to any entity, so I want to mess around with that. Here we have an armor stand, and using the waypoint command, we can give it a waypoint, modify, and then this would be the armor stand, color. Oh, let's say aqua, let's see what happens. Oh, but it doesn't activate it, does it? Okay, how do you activate it, though? That also doesn't work. Hang on. So it does show up here for the armor stand. Yeah. It doesn't show up in the Locator Bar. Why is that? Why is there no Locator Bar? I thought it should show up. Okay, so the transmit range for this entity is 0. So I think I need to change it. Base set 10. Oh, and that changes it. And it only does it in a range of 10 because that's what I set it to now. I think the most you can have is 60 million. So there you go. Okay, so you need to edit the attribute. Okay, this is fine. And you can see it is aqua, like I said it to earlier. It didn't change that. Okay. This is pretty neat. Now, here's the thing. I don't want armor stands everywhere to show where a ride is. That won't be really, really good. So what I want to mess around with is the following. Ideally, I would have a marker entity. I'll just summon a quick one over here. Now, I would really like to use markers because they're really efficient and they don't get sent to the client, but maybe because they don't get sent to the client, they also won't send a waypoint and therefore can't have it. That's what I want to test out here. Marker is not a valid entity for this command. Okay, good to know. We can't use markers. So then next thing I am wondering is, can we use an armor stand that is invisible? We can. Okay. That is good. I guess we'll just use invisible armor stands then. Alright, so here I've created a command that will summon a armor stand with all those attributes, so I don't have to enter those manually, which is going to save me a lot of work. As you can see, I made the waypoint black just because I wanted to mess with the color a little bit. This is, yeah, just a test. Alright, so I've just implemented all of the waypoints for the Rainbow Fair over here, as well as for the train station and spawn point. My big issue with this now is you cannot see at all what is what on the Locator Bar. Like, there's beautiful colors, but how do I? Yeah, obviously this is the carousel because that's the only one here. But when I turn around, there's a lot of things. How do I know which is which? As you saw when we were messing around with the armor stand over there, we can decide when these dots show up. And so I'm thinking for the main rides, we make it so they only show up when you're a little bit closer. And I've put the central one for a Rainbow Fair, for example, in the fountain. And that one will show up anywhere you are in the park. It means that when you're over here, for example, in the thrill grounds, and you look in that direction, you should only see one dot, or that's where the rainbow fair is, and only when you get close to it, that's when you'll see all the other dots around it. I think that will be the way to go, so let me implement that. So now what I've done is I made it so that, and let's actually do it like this, a little bit faster. You can see if you look at the bar, some of them disappear now, as you can see, right? And then when I get closer again, they appear again, and that should make it a little bit less cluttered. So every area will have a main one, which signifies the area, and that is the one you can see from everywhere in the park. So if I want to go to the Rainbow Fair, I can look at the map, I can see, oh, that's purple. I need to follow purple. And then when I get close to purple, you can see some of the other ones start popping into existence over here. And from the center point, you should be able to see all of them for that area, that is. And in case you're curious, the blue ones over here are for the train station, and the one that you can see always is spawn there. Now, I did say I'm not going to change the icon for every single ride. However, because the main ones are a little bit different than the others, I think it's a good idea to signify that they're different by giving them a slightly different icon. And that is something I need to set up in a resource spec, and I don't really know how to do that yet, so let me mess around with that a little bit. And messing around with it, I sure did. As you can see in my locator bar down below, I have a brand new shiny icon over there. And in fact, if I turn around, you can see I've got a couple icons that I made. And we're going to go over the design choices for all of those. Let's start by just this banner icon that I've got over here. That over there is the icon that all the main waypoints have, the ones that you see from everywhere. Look, there they are. They're all here. I've implemented all of them, and all of them have that little banner, right? To show off that they are one of the areas of the park. Now, what I did, seeing as the color corresponds to the color on the map, I updated the actual styles over here to include that sort of banner tapering thingy, right? And with that also being represented on the locator bar, I figure it's a really good signifier. It shows, okay, well, I want to go to Rainbow Fair. All I have to do is look for that purple icon, and then I can go in that direction, right? So speaking of which, let's just go there. Purple's over here-ish, and as you can see, more icons are starting to pop up, because these icons over here that I'm trying to put on the locator bar now is the only ones. There's a little flag that is supposed to represent the rides and attractions that we've got over here. So here, of course, we've got the Puppet Theater. Over there is a blue one. This is the railroad, the train ride all the way around the park. And of course, as you can see, we've got some other ones over here that will start to pop into view as we get closer to them. For those, I decided on a flag because I figured it's kind of in theme with the banner that we have. Now, there's no real indication of that on the map, which is a bit unfortunate. But of course, this is very pixely, and putting a flag all the way around the numbers here, it would make it unnecessarily big. I'm planning in the future to update this map a little bit, and maybe I will also make some space to put some legends for the locator bar items over here. But that's future plans. And now that leaves us to the last one that I haven't talked about yet. There is a yellow balloon icon over here. This is, of course, the balloon cart. Over here you can grab balloons just like this. Pretty cool. Look, now I have a balloon. But this balloon cart is one of very few things that can actually move around the park, as you never really knew where it was. And now with the locator bar, it's a pretty easy way of finding the balloon cart. And just like the waypoints that signify one of the main areas, the balloon waypoint over here is going to be visible from anywhere. And I just let go of my balloon. Oh no. Now that leaves one thing for us to discuss. The player icon will by default still be a random color. And I don't really like that. I think it's best if all players have one color. Now, as you have probably noticed, we're doing a lot with colors on the locator bar. And if players then have random colors, then it might not be as obvious for some players what's what. And so I figure if all players just have one and the same color, it'll be easier to differentiate players from any of the other rides. The issue is I'm not really sure what that color should be. It cannot be any of the colors that we already have, so any of these, and it also cannot be yellow for the balloon cart. And so I'm looking for your suggestions. What color do you think is the best player to represent all players on the locator bar here in Percy's Park? Leave your thoughts down below in the comments. I'm really looking forward to reading those. For now, this is the end of the video. I hope that you've enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye!